Why is it important that we read about the Old Testament sacrifices, and what are their New Testament applications? We're continuing through Leviticus 5 through 7, and again, this is a really challenging part because most of us are not sacrificing animals. Most of us are not sacrificing, especially in church. And so, why are these still important for us to read and to understand? Well, in many ways, in the New Testament, we have almost like an unbloody sacrificial system that's similar in our worship services. And we can see that in the order that they were given. So usually first the sin offering was given. And so you put your hand on this animal and you would symbolically transfer all of your sin to that animal. Somebody had to pay. And this would keep from vengeance being poured out. Vengeance between humans and God, and vengeance between one another, that sin was being paid for. Then there was also the guilt offering, and guilt usually had to do with restitution that need to be made, a sin against a human being. So sin offering is about your relationship with God, and the guilt offering was mostly about that relationship with you and another fellow human being. And so along with the guilt offering, there was usually some type of making amends and getting restitution. Then there was usually after that the fellowship offering, which was to give thanksgiving for all the ways that God has blessed you, and so you would bring in grain or things like that. So that'd be part of the grain thanksgiving offering, fellowship offering. That would also celebrate the fellowship we have with God and with each other. And then there was the burnt offering, and the burnt offering usually was given last, and this was kind of devotion to the Lord. And that burnt offering was not just something that you would give in a part of all your other offerings, but that was also an offering that they would give every morning and every evening. The priest was always supposed to give a burnt offering in the morning and an evening. And the burnt offering was something that was completely burnt up, as a way of saying we are to burn up our lives for God, be completely devoted to the Lord after we've been forgiven and we've been blessed and we're at one with one another. Now we want to devote our lives to one another, or devote our lives to God. And so really, all of these sacrifices were a way of teaching these very deep spiritual truths and theological truths about our relationship with God, our brokenness, the problems in society that we have caused, and why it's so important that we have a God who saves and forgives and makes sacrifices for us. Why it's so important that we are fully devoted to Him in His ways to create a better society. And so, yeah, these might be ancient and strange, but they really do have New Testament applications. I pray that you would go into worship and that you would confess your sins like they did in the sin offering. Put all of your sins on Jesus Christ. I pray that you would give an offering as a way of saying thank you to God, that you would celebrate communion, that fellowship that you have with one another, the communion with God and communion with one another. And I pray that you would make plans to be fully devoted, to burn up your life in devotion to the God who loves you. Okay, keep reading even books like Leviticus and don't give up.